"Yes, mummy," she replied quickly. "Where is your mind?" She hesitated, then forced a small smile and focused on stirring the soup. Madame Favorite watched her closely. Her daughter was flustered. Flustered over a man. That, she decided, was very good news. 2 days later, Constance was out at a club with her best friend, Sage. Sage was a beautiful 30-year-old woman, tall, slim, and with ebony black skin. She was a social media influencer and believed in paying for the services of male escorts. Sage listened patiently as Constance went on about a billionaire named Rory. "He treats janitors with the same respect as billionaires," Constance said, almost incredulous. It was obvious. Constance was fascinated. Or maybe in love? Sage tilted her head, studying her over the rim of her glass. "Is he handsome?" "Yes," Constance replied without hesitation, swaying slightly to the music and sipping her whiskey. "Very. But in a quiet way." "Handsome, billionaire, disciplined," Sage smiled. "He is basically an epitome of a husband." "He will definitely make a good husband," Sage added, a teasing glint in her eyes. To Sage, Rory was a perfect catch. Almost too perfect. Possibly too good for Constance. By midnight, Constance returned to her luxury home alone. Her mother had already gone back to her own house, leaving the vast silence of the mansion to swallow her. And then it came again. That familiar heaviness. The melancholy she could never quite explain. Despite her success, she felt hollow. Unfulfilled. At times, she drank just to sleep. If she didn't, the panic attacks would come, silent, suffocating, hidden from the world. Followed by secret tears she never admitted to anyone. What was wrong with her? Her polished life was beginning to crack in places no one could see, and she prayed it would never show in public. That night, she almost called Victor Obafemi. Victor, son of a billionaire, board member in her company, and someone she had met through business dealings when he came as his father's representative. They had clicked quickly. Too quickly. They shared a similar lifestyle, similar circles, and especially a similar philosophy about relationships. No strings. No pressure. Just convenience. But since Rory entered her life, Constance found herself hesitating. For the first time, the idea of Victor felt empty, as though something inside her was quietly pulling away from that old version of herself. The next time they met for business in Rory's office, Constance surprised even herself. "Have you always been like this?" she asked. Rory paused from his laptop. He looked up slowly. "Like what?" he asked. "All holy. Jesus-like. Churchy," she said, half teasing, half genuinely curious. For a moment, Rory said nothing. His expression stayed calm, unreadable, as he studied her face, open, searching, unguarded in a way she rarely allowed herself to be. Constance thought he might not answer. Then he leaned back slightly. "I wasn't always like this," he said quietly. That alone made her look up. "I was once arrogant," Rory continued. "I nearly destroyed my life before I surrendered to Christ." The room fell into a different kind of silence. Not awkward, but heavy, meaningful. And Constance found, for the first time, that she didn't want to look away. There was a look of shock on her face. "What? You think I was born holy?" Rory said, letting out a soft laugh. "You look so holy and righteous," Constance replied, still incredulous. "Yes now," he said, shaking his head slightly. "But I used to be a piece of work." "That is hard to believe," she admitted. "There is nothing impossible with God," Rory said calmly. "There is no sin the blood of Jesus cannot wash away." For a moment, Constance went quiet. She found herself caught in his gaze. The way he said it made the words feel intimate and convicting at the same time. Strange. The man himself was strange. Outside, the evening rain began to fall gently, tapping against the glass windows and deepening the quiet intimacy of the room. Over the next week, Constance watched Rory more closely than she intended to. The way he carried himself. The way he treated people who had nothing to offer him. And one afternoon, she witnessed something that stayed with her longer than she expected. It was the company's monthly prayer session. Staff gathered in a large hall, heads bowed, voices low. Rory stood among them, not above them. Praying. Not for profit. Not for reputation. But for people. For their families. For the company. For direction. He quoted softly from 1 Kings 8 and 1 Chronicles 17 verse 17, his voice steady, grounded, sincere. Constance stood at the back of the room watching him. Something inside her tightened. It was as though he had stirred a memory she had buried. The version of herself that used to pray before ambition took over, before life became noise. For the first time, She saw something she had never associated with strength. Surrender. And right there quietly she knew it. She had fallen in love with a man she could never truly have. Because he would want a woman like himself. Whole. Faithful. Uncompromised. Meanwhile, Victor began calling more often. Visiting more frequently. His presence, once convenient, now felt louder. And Constance, without fully meaning to, found herself telling him about Rory. As usual, she spoke with admiration. Too much admiration. Sage had already warned Victor that Constance only talked about Rory now. So when they met again, this time at a private upstairs lounge in a luxury restaurant, Victor didn't waste time circling around it. Below them, diners moved in and out, soft music playing in the background, glasses clinking gently in a world that felt far away. "Are you in love with him?" Victor asked. Constance paused mid-sentence. "No," she started quickly. But then she stopped. Silence stretched between them. She didn't like the question. Not because it was wrong, but because his tone made falling in love feel like mediocrity. "Why are you asking me that?" she finally said, setting her glass down. Her tone was sharper than intended. Victor studied her quietly, taking a slow sip of his drink. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't teasing. Just watching. Like someone who had already seen the answer and was waiting for her to catch up to it. He could not remember ever seeing Constance being excited about anything, not even when her company won its first billion-euro real estate contract. He also wanted to be careful. Constance was fiercely independent. Their on and off relationship was very beneficial to him. Aside from the obvious, he was hoping they could have a contract marriage and, after a child or two, an heir to her wealth, he would move on with his life. But now she was falling in love with Rory Daniels. Rory Daniels. The man was a killjoy. Stiff. He made contract execution difficult. Victor sometimes wondered how he made his billions. "Religious men always want control," Victor said finally. Several expressions passed across her face. Then it settled into something he could not name. "I am not in love with him," Constance said carefully. "Just be careful. You don't really know him," Victor continued. There was silence as both made a pretense of eating, while the soft background music floated around them. "Victor, what are we doing?" "Like, where is this going?" she said, now toying with her fork. Victor had not expected the question. Was it not obvious? To him, it meant Constance was developing feelings for Rory. But this question was in his favor. "We could make something permanent out of our arrangement," Victor said. Constance was looking at him. Had he just evaded her question and moved straight to marriage? As if marriage, to him, was the solution to every problem in the world. And the way he said it, as though her feelings meant nothing. "Are you proposing marriage to me?" she asked carefully. Victor swallowed hard. Constance was now sounding confrontational. The version of Constance that was fun-loving and did not care about anything he could handle. Not this one. And no thanks to Rory. "We could take things to the next level," he began. A contract marriage. We could have a child or two. After a specified period of years. Then we can discreetly separate and go on to enjoy our lives," Victor said. Silence settled between them. Before Rory Daniels, she would have jumped at this opportunity. After all, a contract marriage would have been a win-win for everyone involved, especially considering her desire to escape her mother's constant talk about marriage. But now she wanted more from life. She wanted something real, probably with a man who saw her and made her feel protected, like the kind stranger. But was she not building castles in the air? Rory would never love a woman like her, but you can be a woman that he will wish he had. The thought came unbidden. And right there she saw a version of herself she loved, and God and her mother would approve of. A version of herself that deserved better than a cold marriage with a calculating man. "Constance, I would not want a marriage with you," Constance said simply. Victor did not expect her to say no. His heart thudded. Rory Daniels. He had come here to pressure her toward a morally questionable merger, and he was losing ground to a man who was not even trying to win her, or even aware that a woman was slowly falling for him. "Why? If I may ask, is it because of Rory Daniels?" Victor said, trying to push disapproval into his tone. Constance, now divided between ambition, love, and conviction, said, "Maybe because I suddenly realized I want more out of life. And I would not get that from you." "More out of life?" Victor repeated. "Yes," she said with finality. Days later, Rory and Constance were coming from a proposed site for the real estate project. The afternoon was warm, with a soft, golden haze stretching over the half-developed land. The ground was uneven, marked by survey lines, steel rods, and the quiet promise of something yet to be built. In the distance, construction workers moved like small silhouettes against the wide sky. They discussed business, but as usual, an unspoken tension lingered between them, an invisible pull neither of them acknowledged aloud. Every pause felt heavier than the words spoken. Every glance held a fraction too long. Rory had tried to ignore it. Attraction to a single woman was not a sin or a problem. The issue was the person. Why Constance? Rory mentally ticked off a number of eligible sisters in the Lord he knew. Women who were suitable for marriage, stable, predictable, uncomplicated. So why was he drawn to this woman? She was not the most beautiful, nor the most compliant, nor the richest. Yet somehow, she unsettled his thoughts more than any of them ever had. He glanced out through the car window. Her perfume, a soft feminine scent, filled the space, unsettling him in a way he could not quite explain. It made him restless, as though he were searching for urgent answers. "Lord, please help me," he prayed. "What do you want in a woman?" Constance asked. Rory turned to her. Was she a mind reader too? He thought. He began. "She should be a lover of God, and God should approve of her for me." "Is that all?" Constance asked, surprised. "What kind of answer were you expecting?" Rory replied. Constance considered the question and realized she had thought about it before. She had always assumed Rory's kind of woman would be someone exceptional, and that she would be godly like him. The only thing she was certain of was this: she was not his type. "I don't know," she said. "I've never really thought about it." It was a lie. Silence settled in the car. "And you?" he asked quietly, looking into her eyes. "What kind of man do you want?" They were becoming used to these moments. Moments when the world seemed to stand still, when they were lost in each other's eyes. Rory looked away first. Constance knew the answer. But she did not want to be vulnerable with Rory. Or should she? Then she heard herself say the words that changed everything. "Someone like you," she said. Rory did not turn to look at her. Somewhere inside, he already knew the answer, because he could feel that what they shared was mutual. Constance, startled by her confession, quickly tried to correct herself. I admire you," she said, wincing. She was digging deeper into an already exposed minefield. But Rory still did not look at her. He kept his gaze fixed out of the window, his posture rigid. "You have changed my perspective about life and about what a godly man should be, and that godliness is attractive," Constance said, her words tumbling out. Silence stretched between them. "Jesus makes the difference," Rory said calmly. Constance made no reply. But she had come to understand it. Jesus truly makes the difference. And now she was beginning to think that she needed Jesus too. Not because she hoped Rory would look her way, but because she was finally beginning to lay down a secret burden she had carried for too long. In the following months, Rory prayed. He needed to pray about his growing feelings for Constance. "Guard my heart, Lord," he prayed one Saturday night. But the prayer he prayed most often was, "Lord, what are you saying about my feelings for Constance Adeyemi, a woman who does not share my faith?" He stood before the floor-to-ceiling windows in his room. "Lord, help me. Help me make sense of all this," he whispered again. There was no answer. The Lord had not spoken. "Lord, should I stop working with her?" "No," the Lord replied. That was one question he always received an answer to. He should not stop working with Constance. Meanwhile, he continued to feel the attraction. "Lord, what are you doing?" There was no answer, at least not yet. But he clung to the knowledge that he was precious to God, and that God was working behind the scenes for him. Meanwhile, Constance was undergoing a transformation. It started slowly. "What is going on with you?" Sage asked one day. They were in Constance's house on a Friday evening. Sage was spending the night because Constance had refused to visit her. "There is nothing wrong with me," Constance replied. Silence. "Are you in love with that billionaire?" Sage asked. "That is not the issue," Constance said. "So you are not denying it?" Sage pressed. "The point is that I see myself differently from before I met him," Constance admitted honestly. "You feel different now?" "How?" "Don't tell me you want to join those religious fanatics," Sage said. Silence. "There is nothing bad about being a child of God. Look at Rory. He is born again and still rich," Constance said. "He is living a boring life," Sage scoffed lightly. "Don't act like you wouldn't jump at the opportunity to marry him," Constance said. Silence.